Hey guys, good morning. Welcome back to the channel. So for today's video, can you trust the range, the rated range of an EV, specifically a Tesla? Well, this is something that I've wanted to discuss for some time. And it comes about mainly, as far as this video goes, because of a comment that was made in one of my most recent videos. A commenter had mentioned that it looks like Tesla is giving a fake range estimate for their cars, and that you can't trust the range that the car tells you that it has. And so I've been discussing back and forth with this individual in the comments section, and that comment came up on my video about driving the car in 24 degrees below Fahrenheit weather, and the fact that I lost about half of my range in the cold weather and that. And so I wanted to give a better explanation as far as what's going on and can you trust the numbers. Now, in my car, I am currently, I have 73,019 miles on my, my odometer, and I'm averaging 238 watt hours per mile. Those numbers, 238 watt hours per mile, is that's a year-round average. And I live in the U.S. in northern Illinois. Northern Illinois has relatively harsh winters. Now, I know there are parts of the world that have more harsh winters than northern Illinois. So yes, people in the comment section are going to say, I live in Siberia and I live in, Norway and different places where it's really, really cold. I get it. But just on the average, for most of my viewing audience, we have some pretty cold winters here. And so that range is year-round. I drive this car on average 160 miles per day. Today, so far, I've driven 37 miles and I've averaged 211 watt hours per mile. It is 45 degrees Fahrenheit out. What is that, maybe 6 or 7 degrees Celsius, something like that. And my range, that 238 watt hours per mile, is a year-round average. So, people that say that, well, EVs, you can't drive them in the winter, you lose all of your range. And, there seems to be this prejudice against EVs, and gas cars somehow get a pass. I find it hilarious. So for instance, you can have a gas car that's rated at, let's say, 35 miles per gallon. And if it, in real world use, gives 30 miles per gallon, people don't seem to complain much about it. They go, well, it's just the way it is. Whatever. It's like you get used to it or something, that the miles per gallon that the car's rated for isn't necessarily what you're seeing. Also, with that 35 mile per gallon rated range that the gas car has, if you're flooring it everywhere, you could be at 12 or 15 miles per gallon. My wife's Ford Fusion, nice car, relatively, sporty car, kind of nice. I can see 33 miles per gallon on that car if I really nurse it. She gets about 24 miles per gallon. And I found that if I drive it really hard, I'm getting 17 miles to the gallon. Well, that's half the range on a full tank of gas versus what I can get if I drive it cautiously. The exact same thing can be said for an electric car. If you drive it cautiously and the conditions are right, the weather is good and all that, you can see better than rated range. The Model 3 is rated at 318 miles, I think it is, on a full charge. This car was 310 miles rated range when I bought it. And you can see 150 miles of actual range if it's cold out and you're flooring it everywhere and using the cabin heat and everything. Or you can see 400 miles of range if you're really cautious with it. Again, I go back to gas cars are very, very similar in that way. Now, where they differ is that in the wintertime, an electric car, well, we'll start with gas cars. In the wintertime, a gas car uses what would normally be waste heat, the engine through the normal combustion process, the extremely inefficient combustion process, you have roughly 2/3, well, actually at least 2/3, sometimes as much as 3/4 of the fuel's energy is wasted as heat. So since you're wasting heat anyway, you have free heat, i.e. you're just harnessing some of what's already being completely wasted to heat the cabin. So heating a gas car in the winter really doesn't affect your driving range much at all, other than turning the fan on to circulate that heat throughout the cabin. Whereas with an electric car, they're not wasting heat. You have to generate that heat in order to heat the cabin. So basically, when people talk about how inefficient an electric car is in the wintertime, it's not that it's inefficient in the winter. The thing is, it's so crazy efficient in mild weather. So crazy efficient in mild weather that in the winter, the car's efficiency is so high that most of the cabin heat must be achieved through generating heat by converting energy in the pack to heat to warm the cabin. You don't have wasted heat like you do with a gas engine to warm the cabin. So this argument that in the wintertime, electric cars, you lose all your range. Okay, that's number one, not really. You can lose some if you crank the cabin heat, but there are ways around that. Very, very, very simple ways, not some weird, you gotta jump through hoops to do it. There's simple ways around that, and I've had other videos that cover that, how to increase your efficiency in the winter. But the whole point is, what people are complaining about with EVs, i.e. less range in the winter, is actually a byproduct of how good and crazy efficient the cars are through the rest of the season, not just the coldest days in winter. So it's a fascinating thing, but I wanted to show you guys, though, that in my 73,000 miles of use, I'm at 238 watt hours per mile, which is, oh gosh, 8%, I think it is, higher watt hours per mile, or less, 8% less efficient than what Tesla rates this car for at its efficiency peak in the summer. So the winter really doesn't affect your range as much as you might think. Yes, you will see a little bit of reduced range, but there's ways to mitigate that. And on top of that, on top of the ways to mitigate that, you also have, again, the factors that I was talking about, where it's not as bad as people talk about, and your overall year-round range is still very, very good on the cars. So, and I go back to, why are gas cars just given a pass and electric cars somehow are being judged? It's almost like a religious discussion or something, where a nation's most common religion gets a pass, but the oddball ones are judged. And you see that in a lot of different demographic groups and a lot of different scenarios in this world. And it just, right now, EVs happen to be much more harshly judged, and gas cars just get this universal pass. But the gas car people also don't want to discuss the lack of reliability with a gas powertrain versus an electric powertrain, the regular maintenance needed, oil changes and brake pads and all that you don't have that issue with electric cars. That somehow seems to get forgotten, and what people will do is say, well, EVs are the new thing, and because it's the new thing, I have to push against it, which means I'm going to find any negative I can possibly find and absolutely fixate all of my attention on that one apparent negative. Cost is another one. Never mind the fact that EVs are so much cheaper to operate. Now, Teslas are a little expensive, and I get it, but you can get a more base Model 3, or you can buy a used 100-mile range EV that will get you the vast majority of all your driving for less than a gas car would cost you, and it's cheaper to operate. So there are so many different ways to offset these arguments that people give. Are electric cars perfect? No. Every form of technology has its drawbacks. But what bothers me is when proponents of gas vehicles will take a very minor negative of an electric car and blow it way out of proportion and make it look like it's the only factor at play, and it's not. So anyway, that's my thoughts for the day, my rant for the day, I guess you'd say. And I get a lot of questions about the layout of my cockpit, especially from people that are new to the channel. So if you're new to the channel, this tablet, this is just a Samsung, cheap Samsung tablet that I have mounted to my dash. I made the mount, I didn't buy it. And it's running the Scan My Tesla app. There's various technical parameters you can view on that. I've got videos on it, and I have more videos coming up on the Scan My Tesla app, but that answers any questions there. This screen is changed in height, angle, position, and side-to-side sweep because of a mounting kit that I make and market. There's a link in the description below, so if you have any questions on that, that's what that is. This is another Samsung tablet that's been installed there so I can check email and whatnot for my business. And so I use this car for my business. I do in-home appliance repair. If you guys have any further questions about the filming of my videos or about the ownership experience of the Model 3 or the Scan My Tesla app or the screen mount or anything else, let me know. I have many modified steering wheels that I use. I'm currently using a round wheel. There's reasons for that. I still have my other wheels that I'm doing some additional work to in the shop, so you'll be seeing modified steering wheels coming up in future videos. So I think that's it for me for today. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Go ahead and subscribe if you haven't done so already. My referral code will be in the description below. If you're buying a new Tesla, go ahead and use my referral code. You'll get some free charging. So I think that's it for me for today. You guys have yourselves a wonderful day, and as always, stay charged. Bye-bye now.